Looks just like a hill of mud, doesn't it? But in fact, this was a massive pyramid. We're outside of Lambayeque in northern Peru, and this area is quite humid, close to the coast. And this is where we find the pyramids and tomb of the Lord of Sipan. This was a center of the Moche culture, and they were incredibly prolific in terms of pottery. Perhaps the finest potters in Peru and world class, though they actually died out about 1500 years ago. Their pottery is phenomenal because the faces, both human and animal, are so realistic that it's as though they're looking at you. It's as though the ceramic is conscious. It's incredible. So the Lord of Sipan was found here, luckily not plundered by tomb robbers. These are tombs, very deep tombs, of lesser levels of nobility. But this is definitely where the so-called, one of the pyramidal cultures or pyramid cultures, Adobe pyramid making, this was a major center. More than 50 large-scale pyramids are in this area. Unfortunately, El Nino has done devastating damage. I think 1997 was when it happened. And the Adobe, because it's sun-baked clay, they've just eroded heavily. But the erosion began, again, about 1500 or 1300 years ago, when there was devastating El Nino effects here, which basically destroyed the culture as well. It was incessant rain, destroying crops and causing the whole culture to basically collapse. Now I, of course, if you've seen any of my other videos, am always on the lookout for elongated skulls to see the range of the territory of those people, whether they were the same people or even related people. Not much evidence here. That's clearly an example of a deformed head, probably artificially, compression of the top of the skull. But that actually isn't the point. The point is that in this area, which is a major archaeological, but also agricultural area, incredible amount of gold probably brought down from the rivers of the highlands, but it's so productive in terms of agriculture that that's what you're looking for anywhere in the world. When you're looking for advanced civilizations, there has to be a lot of water present so that they can grow a lot of food, so that there's a large enough population that artisans, philosophers, etc., can be part of that culture, that civilization. Because it's not normal, as far as I know, that you find highly advanced cultures with very small populations, unless they are the remnants of a much greater, older population. The tombs here are very deep, and that's fortunate. It's not known that, but probable, that the Lord of Sipan, who was buried here, knew that because he was buried with gold and other objects, that tomb robbers would try to extract his wealth. So that's why he's buried, it looks like, at least 15 to 20 feet underground. He wasn't discovered until 1989, and he is in his own special museum now. But luckily, the tombs were buried deep. So the huaqueros, who are still very active today throughout Peru, selling to the international market, were not able to find him. He was resting from 300 AD until 1989. And this in the background is another one of the pyramids. Seashells. Hundreds, if not thousands, of pieces of smashed pottery. Very distinct style. This is the Moche culture, the Mochica culture. And this is Tucumay. These may look like just eroded hills, but in fact, they were once beautiful painted pyramids. At least 35. One of the most intriguing things about the Moche culture, through their oral traditions and through drawings and paintings and weavings and Adobe work, is that it's known that they were great seafarers on the coast. Here's an obvious depiction of a man or a birdman on board a boat. You see the paddles underneath it. And there's a character in the oral tradition called Nilamp, and he was a great navigator and explorer who went far off to sea. He could have been one who went as far as Polynesia and possibly beyond. The thing about the Moche is that they were not so much victims of war or human deed, they were victims of climate change. At least twice. The first time occurred around the year 500 AD, and there was either El Niño or El Nino event, which caused incredible rainfall, which decimated their crops and therefore decimated the people. And about 400 years to 500 years later came the second event, and that was the opposite. It was drought. And the drought was so intense that again, it affected the food supply. It dried everything out, created giant wildfires. And so that, as far as I know, was the end of the Moche people. After that, of course, like anywhere, came other cultures. But the great Moche civilization, amazing potters, artisans, came to an end around 1000 AD.